Simple Speed Secrets. Simple sprint training secrets to increase running speed and transform your body. Narrated by John Hawkes. Introduction. Hello and welcome to our short beginner's guide on increasing your running speed and also transforming your body with sprint training. Sprinting is an excellent form of exercise. Whether you are actively training for competitions, playing competitive or social sports, or simply using it as a part of your cardiovascular routine. To begin this guide, we're going to spend a few moments discussing what sprinting is and isn't, and also take a look at the history of sprinting. What is sprinting? Sprinting is defined as a competitive running event that is 400 meters or less. Most sprinting events are 100, 200, or 400 meters. Most of them last less than 60 seconds because sprinters are running as fast as they can during the entire length of the race. Some sprinting competitions include relay races that involve 4 runners, each sprinting a certain distance. Sprint in a training sense can also mean doing a particular cardio exercise with all-out intense anaerobic effort for a brief period followed by rest. Sprinting versus running. Although sprinting and running use the same muscle groups and are essentially the same thing, there are some key differences. Sprinting, as mentioned before, involves athletes moving as fast as they can for the whole sprint in an anaerobic environment, making it much more intense than running. From a metabolic standpoint, that means you're using glycogen rather than oxygen for your muscles, which wears you out a lot faster than a well-paced run. Running, on the other hand, is slower and less intense than sprinting, so events are much longer and require aerobic fitness. Running competitions include the 5K, 3.1 miles, the 10K, 6.2 miles, half marathons, 13.1 miles, and full marathons, 26.2 miles. Running uses oxygen to keep you going, so you can maintain your pace for longer, which is why you have to run for at least 10 minutes for it to be considered exercise. Origin of sprinting. Sprinting dates back farther than any other competitive sport. In fact, it was the first type of athletic competition that was ever recorded. The earliest record came from the original Olympic Games in 776 before Christ. Some experts believe that sprinting may have been the only competition at the very first Olympics. At that time, that race was one state in length, which is about 200 meters. Modern Olympics. When the modern Olympics were created in 1896, they included 2 sprinting events, 1,000 meters and 400 meters. Then, in the 1900s, the 200-meter dash was added. Relay races were included starting in 1912 with the 4x100 race and the 4x400 race. At that time, only men were allowed to compete in the Olympics, but when women were included in 1928, sprinting events were on the list. Benefits of sprinting. There are many benefits to sprinting. It can increase your maximum heart rate and capacity to exercise. Sprinting also burns a large amounts of calories in a short amount of time and can boost your metabolism, making it a great way to lose weight and transform your body composition without needing to spend hours on a treadmill. Some people use sprinting as a part of a weight training program because it uses a big group of muscles all at once and helps to strengthen them. Well, that's a brief intro into sprinting training and what we'll be covering in this guide. In the following chapters, we're going to focus in on the different aspects of sprinting and help you develop a plan to get the most out of every sprint session. Are you ready to begin? Let's dive in. Chapter 1. Why are some people faster than others? When you think of outstanding sprinters, you probably think of Usain Bolt. But what makes him so much faster than the average person? Surely there's more to it than a good training routine. In this part of the course, we're going to take a closer look at how the person's genetics and physical build plays into how fast of a runner they are. Muscle fibers. What type of muscle fibers you have will predispose you to be a better long-distance runner, sprinter, or leave you somewhere in the middle. Marathon runners tend to have a higher proportion of slow-twitch fibers, which help them to go the distance. Sprinters usually have more fast-twitch fibers, which allows them to go faster for shorter periods of time. The average person is born with a pretty even mixture of these two muscle types. However, there is some evidence that shows that you can get about 10% of these to switch by carefully training them So even if you weren't among the few gifted sprinters that were born with more fast-twitch muscle fibers, you can still train to get a few more on your side. Lactate threshold. This refers to how much lactate you can take before you have to slow down. Lactate is a natural waste product of muscles as they are working, particularly if they're working in an anaerobic state like when you're sprinting. A higher threshold means being able to run faster and that you'll be able to maintain that faster speed for longer, which is especially important when you are running at full speed. Fortunately, sprinting training helps to increase this lactate threshold. Physical form. This has a little less to do with genetics and more to do with your overall physical state. Obviously, if you're carrying a few extra pounds, you're not going to be able to move as quickly as someone who's not. This goes for muscle weight as well, which is why most of the sprinters you see are lean without much muscle mass to slow them down. Running form. Important points in your overall form include how your foot hits the pavement, how long your strides are, and how clean your gait is. All of these things put together and more make up your form. As you perfect your form through repeated exercises, you will become a better, faster, and more efficient sprinter. While some people naturally have a better form, it can be gained through practice. VO2 max. This is something that many middle and long distance runners are concerned with. It measures the maximum, max, volume, V, of oxygen, O2, that your body can process during exercise. However, because sprinting doesn't use oxygen for fueling your muscles, this is not something that matters as much to sprinters compared to other runners. We mention it here only because it is something commonly discussed among runners, even though it doesn't really apply to sprinters. Even though you may not have the genes to beat Usain Bolt at the next Olympics, you can work to improve all these things to make you a better sprinter overall. Chapter 2. Things to do before beginning a sprint training program. You never want to just jump right into a new exercise program, especially one that is as intensive as sprint training. In this part of the course, we're going to look at some things you should do before you start your sprinting training so that you minimize your risk of injury and maximize your results once you start your sprint training program. First, see your doctor. The first thing you want to do is to visit your regular doctor and discuss your plan to begin a sprint training program. Your doctor will likely want to examine you to make sure that you are healthy enough to do this type of training. Depending on your age and the overall physical fitness level, you may need to have your heart and lungs checked. If your doctor says that you aren't healthy enough to begin a sprint training program, listen to them. There are plenty of other types of exercise that you can do to get in shape. You may also simply need to get into better shape by losing some weight and building up some muscle tone before beginning, so be patient if this is the case. 2. Decide why you're doing it. Sprint training is hard, so before you begin, you want to make sure you know why you're doing it. This will help you stay focused during training because you have a specific goal in mind. Perhaps you're looking to help boost your weight loss by adding some intense cardio activities into your routine, or you want to compete in sprinting competitions. Whatever it is, keep that goal in mind while training. 3. Do your research. This sprinting train course is an excellent place to start because it gives you all the information you need to know on how to begin training as a sprinter. But don't let your research end here. You should also watch videos of Olympic sprinters to have a good understanding of how their bodies move while they are running. If you know anyone who sprints, ask them about it as well. 4. Make a training schedule. One of the best ways to keep yourself on track with your training is to set up a training schedule. Be sure to give yourself enough time during every session to warm up, train, and then cool down. All three of these are vital to any exercise program, especially one as intensive as sprint training. The most important thing is to pick a time of the day that will work the best for you. You won't be sprinting every day, so plan your schedule accordingly. Some days you'll be doing less intensive exercises to improve your form, and other days you'll be focusing on building up specific muscles through strength training. These various exercises will have to be spread out throughout the week so you don't strain yourself. Once you've followed all these steps, you'll be ready to begin your sprint training.